Hello science fans and welcome to SHE-ensya. Today, we go back to basics and talk about how living things are organized in the planet and eventually the importance of biodiversity. In a previous Back to Basics video, we talked about ecological systems or ecosystems. As a reminder, an ecosystem is a geographic area where living things and non-living things work together to form a bubble of life. The planet is made up of a huge variety of ecosystems, but the organization of life on Earth starts out with something more basic than that. It actually starts with the individual. An individual is any living thing or organism that falls within a species. But what is a species? A species is a group of living organisms with similar characteristics and are capable of exchanging genes or breeding. Public safety announcement. The word species does not exist. The singular and plural form of species are the same, and it's species. Individuals from one species generally do not breed with individuals from other groups or species. And this is particularly true for animals for a number of reasons. But of course, there are exceptions. Reproductive isolation is a mechanism that prevents individuals from one species from mating with others. And there are two general types: prezygotic barriers that prevent the fertilization of an egg, and postzygotic barriers that prevent the formation of a fertile offspring. An example of a prezygotic barrier is ecological isolation. And this occurs when habitat preferences lower the chances of mating because individuals are living in different habitats. So if they can't be together physically in one location, then of course they can't mate. Another example of a prezygotic barrier would be temporal isolation. And this is when individuals of different species remain active at different portions of the day or at different seasons. So if they're not in the mood at the same time, of course they can't mate also. And then there's behavioral isolation. And this is when potential mates actually meet, but they end up choosing members of their own species. No! And then there's also mechanical isolation. This is when copulation is attempted, but the transfer of sperm does not happen because of physical incompatibility. What? As for postzygotic barriers, an example is gametic incompatibility. In this case, sperm transfer takes place, but fertilization does not occur. There's also zygotic mortality. This is when successful fertilization occurs, but the zygote does not develop. There's also hybrid inviability and hybrid sterility. In both these instances, a hybrid is formed, but it either has reduced chances of survival or it is infertile. So hybrids actually exist in nature.
Wow!
And these are the offspring of two plants or animals of different species, varieties, or any other taxonomic group. But their decreased chances of survival or inviability or even sterility is often caused by their abnormal chromosome numbers. Often, each species has a unique number of chromosomes. So when a hybrid is formed, they are created from an unequal combination of chromosomes. And this prevents them from successfully producing gametes, which are basically the egg or the sperm. And this can also compromise the normal functioning of their cells. It is interesting to note that hybridization is more common in plants than in animals. And this is because, interestingly, some plant hybrids actually have characteristics that make them better than their original versions. And so we humans have propagated them artificially. Apart from that, plants are also capable of reproducing asexually, which means they don't have to create functional gametes, unlike animals. And now that we've sufficiently defined what an individual is in terms of living systems, let's talk about populations. A population is a group of individuals of the same species living together at the same place at the same time. And just like what we can observe in humans, cats, or dogs, even though populations are made up of individuals of the same species, they may have different genetic makeups and thus end up with different appearances, such as different eye colors, different hair textures, and even different heights. But it is very rare that a particular location on Earth is only inhabited by one species. And so more often than not, we would actually have communities, which are all different types of living species, be they plant, animal, or even bacteria, living together at the same place at the same time. And then of course, in one location, you would have living or biotic components and also non-living things called abiotic components. And the unique combinations of biotic and abiotic components make up for the different ecosystems. And if you want to learn more about ecosystems, please watch the video that will pop up over here at the end of this one. Now, there are ecosystems that are more similar to each other, and there are those that are completely different. So a set of ecosystems sharing similar characteristics form interconnected biomes all over the world. So when we consider all the different biomes, each blending into the other, all living things form a huge community of humans, animals, plants, and microorganisms, all in their defined habitats. And so we form the biosphere, the sum of all biomes present in the world, living, breathing, dying, and decomposing. Beautiful and amazing. And that's it for our Back to Basics video for today. Just remember, the fundamental unit of an ecosystem is the individual that belongs to a unique species. And the species is a group of organisms that share similar but not exactly the same characteristics that are capable of breeding and producing fertile offspring. There are two general mechanisms that prevent other individuals from one species to mate with individuals from another species. And they are pre-zygotic barriers that prevent fertilization from happening, and post-zygotic barriers that prevent the formation of fertile offspring. But hybrid animals can still exist, although they might not be as healthy as their non-hybrid counterparts, nor can they create fertile offspring. There are a lot of hybrid plants in agriculture, and they overcome the barriers for breeding through asexual reproduction. Take note that populations are individuals of the same species living together at one place at one time, while a community is made up of many different species coexisting at the same place at the same time. An ecosystem, on the other hand, is a geographic area where biotic and abiotic components work together to form a bubble of life. And ecosystems form biomes, and all the biomes combined form the biosphere. Let us also remember that all life forms have a role to play in the ecosystem. And so when more species go extinct, the more unstable our ecosystems become. And we will talk more about this in our next Back to Basics video. I hope you were able to learn something from our short video about the organization of life on the planet. If you did, I hope you can give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to message me, your resident Filipino scientist, in the comments section below. Thank you very much, and see you around!